Own the challenge of showing up. There are so many times in life where we will be in a situation where we do not participate actively with our consciousness. That's the key lesson I want to have you take away from this talk. I've noticed that you can dress the part, you can look the part, you can have the title, you can be in the right place at the right time. Yet, if you do not want to show up in that moment, then you are not going to get the results that you are after. You have to train yourself to lean into the moment, to participate in life with whatever activity that may be. How much are you owning each activity in your life? How much are you leaning in? Or are you just doing the activity half-assed? Or you're just there so you can say you went without really actually putting your whole self into it? For example, imagine going to the club. So you're going to the club to socialize, and it's on Halloween. So now you're expecting it to be much better because it's Halloween and because people are dressed up and you're dressed up, right? And maybe you're going with your friends, so you're expecting that. Maybe you're drinking alcohol or doing other substances, and you're expecting now it to be a good night. Without then first making sure that you actively participate in making it a good night. I remember talking to someone that asked me, "Hey, do you drink at all?" And I'm like, "No, if I was to drink, it wouldn't be I would have to already be having a good time." A lot of times people will drink just like they'll drink until they're having a good time when that really never works out. Because, for example, with going to the club, you have to lean in. You have to talk to people. You have to force yourself to socialize. Otherwise, you're not going to gain any benefit from being there. You can just show up. But unless you're willing to participate, you're not going to get really much value out of it. And that's with any social activity. Like if you go anywhere to socialize, a club is just an example. If you go going on a meetup from meetup.com or from wherever, some event on Eventbrite or Facebook Marketplace or wherever, whatever, actually participate when you're going there. Another example is going to school for engineering. You can go to school, read the textbooks, and study the material so you can pass the tests, but are you actually leaning into the craft of engineering? Are you actually enjoying that? Or are you just making a means for an end so that you can get a degree so you can get a job? Because what will end up happening is you will need to learn so much more about engineering after your degree. And are you even willing to fully put yourself into that? If you want to be prestigious in any position, in any job, but let's say engineering, for example, you're going to want to put your full self into it. How about getting in gear in your mornings, getting into your routine? When you wake up, you get up. You don't snooze. You don't lay there. You don't go back to sleep. And you have your morning routine and you do it not as a chore, but mindfully and intentfully. Being very intentional, leaning in, and if it's difficult, leaning into that difficulty. If you got a cold shower to do, instead of just getting it over with, it's leaning into that pain of that cold. Practicing holding that. participating in the challenge that you set out for yourself? How about being a father in title versus being a father in action? You can have kids, and you can be a father or a mother biologically, but how much are you actually a father or a mother to your children? How much are you actually guiding them, being that guide that they need? Or are you just taking the title and just not participating in the process of raising a child? You just exist. Same with a friend. A lot of times you negotiate like, well, we're friends, right? So we can do XYZ, rather than just being a friend to the point where you don't have to even bring up that title to negotiate. Make sense? Leaning into the titles of the relationships that you have. Leaning into the titles you give yourself for career. If you call yourself a life coach or a public speaker, what the fuck are you actually doing? How much are you practicing? If you call yourself a musician, how much are you actually living and leaning into that life of that identity? How much are you participating with your full intent and consciousness and putting your awareness onto it? And lastly, I just want to cover participating fully in actions you set yourself in. I helped facilitate a spiritual retreat. And I remember I got partnered up with this guy that came to the spiritual retreat with some friends, and he clearly was not there in his mind at all. He did not want to be there. And it was so frustrating, number one, to have that guy as my partner, because I had to then, I got a really crappy partner. But even just having that person in the space, like, why would you, everyone there wants to be there and is investing with their mind and their ideas and their consciousness. And then you got a guy that's showing up, but he's not participating. He's not owning what he is doing. So with whatever you do in your life, are you going to the gym? Own that you're going to the gym and do a solid fucking workout. Don't do any half-ass shit. Own it. If you go to dance class, own that. Dance fully. If you're a father, own that. And raise your son well. Of course, the same goes if you're a mother. If you're a friend, own that. Be a good friend. Participate. Think about their needs. If you want to call yourself something, a specific title, then own that title. Sometimes we'll even, you work as an engineer, but how much are you actually that? What do you actually do? Or a therapist. Are you just punching, or whatever it is, are you just punching in the clock, or are you actively putting your soul into it? And this is with everything in life. How much are you actively owning where you are, what you're doing, what your title is, what the context of what you're doing is, and how much are you participating with your awareness? Life is going to be a whole lot more fulfilling when you actively participate and not just letting whatever happens happen to you. Last thing I would like to say is notice places in your life where you're just kind of just showing up. I quit meditation for a long time. And I said to myself, when I get back into meditation, I'm going to be fully into it. I'm going to be owning it. Because what I was doing, I was just setting the timer and just waiting it out, rather than actively trying to focus my mind into some direction or whatever practice I was wanting to practice. Now, getting back into meditation, I am a hell of a lot more intentional about it. I'm owning that moment. If it's going to suck, then I'm going to fully embrace that. I'm going to fully put myself into that. Notice areas in your life where you're not really leaning fully in yet. And ask why. Why am I not leaning in fully? What is making me hesitate? What's causing this half-assery? A lot of times we will find ourselves in situations doing certain things just because we've always done them. And we never actually took a step back to have some clarity around, oh, this is why I'm doing it. Personally, I like to have a Bible of reasons as to why I do anything. I like to have a whole list, an encyclopedia, an explanation that goes to my core, grounding everything I do. Because then I then feel fully authorized to lean into that practice, into that moment. To just do things willy-nilly, that participation is going to waver. So, in closing, notice where you fully lean into life, maybe even get into that flow state, and notice where you're pulling back. And for experimentation, see if you can lean in to wherever you are, whatever moment, maybe you're at a gathering, and just challenge yourself to lean in and participate and to make it yours. And you might end up enjoying life a little bit more. Thanks for watching.